On a cold December morning in 2000, a small aluminum hunting boat rocked gently on the still, dark water of Lake Seminole. Inside were all the signs of a routine duck hunting trip. Camo gear neatly organized, shotgun shells, and a pair of waders. But its owner, 31-year-old Mike Williams, was nowhere in sight. A search party would arrive. Dogs, boats, volunteers in thick jackets calling his name across swampy air. But all they would find was silence, and that lonely boat. And with that silence began a story of love, betrayal, greed, and a secret buried for nearly 2 decades. Mike Williams was the kind of man people described as steady, responsible, hardworking, a provider. He married his high school sweetheart Denise, the girl who believed in matching outfits for school photos and wrote notes in bubble handwriting. To friends and family, they were the couple who made it. A baby girl, a home, good jobs, church on Sunday. And then there was Brian Winchester, Mike's best friend since childhood. The kind of friend who doesn't just attend the wedding, he stands next to the groom in it. Brian and his wife were close with the Williams family. Double dates, vacations, babysitting swaps. The kind of closeness that feels safe. Until it wasn't. When Mike didn't return from the lake, the community's heart sank. Duck hunting accidents were common, and Lake Seminole was known for alligators. Maybe he fell in. Maybe the gators got him. Even law enforcement believed it. It sounded tragic and plausible. So Denise mourned. Brian comforted her, and the town prayed. Mike was declared dead. His family, devastated, tried to find peace. And insurance money, $1.75 million worth, was paid out. Life went on. Or so it seemed. Denise and Brian weren't just grieving together. They were having an affair. And the affair had started before Mike disappeared. What the community saw as shared pain was actually shared guilt and shared motive. Their relationship had heat, secrecy, and danger. But Denise didn't want a messy divorce. Divorce meant custody battles, financial losses, shame. She wanted freedom. Brian wanted her. And they both wanted the money. So a plan was born, staged as an accident, hidden under the swamp water. But the murder didn't go as cleanly as planned. Brian later confessed that the drowning didn't work. Mike fought, harder than Brian expected. Panic, struggle, a desperate decision, a shotgun, a single shot, and a hurried burial in a remote, wooded area. Brian kept that secret. Denise kept that secret. They lived their lives on top of the very foundation of that secret. They even married. But that marriage wasn't a reward, it was a prison. A constant reminder between them. You know what we did? By the mid-2010s, Denise began to fear Brian, not emotionally, but legally. If Brian ever talked, everything fell apart. So she tried to cut ties. But Brian didn't take rejection lightly. In 2016, fueled by panic, obsession, and fear of being exposed, Brian kidnapped Denise at gunpoint in her car, begging her not to leave him or talk to police. She escaped. He was arrested. And in that moment, their secret no longer had 2 protectors. Facing prison time and realizing Denise was no longer on his side, Brian cracked. He led investigators to Mike's body. He confessed. He testified against Denise. And after 17 years, the truth finally surfaced from the mud, literally. Denise sat in the courtroom, polished, composed, expression unreadable. But the community saw her differently now. Not the grieving widow. Not the mother holding her daughter close. But someone who had watched people pray for Mike, knowing exactly where he was. Brian made a deal with prosecutors. He confessed to helping Denise murder Mike Williams. He testified in detail how they planned and carried out the act. In exchange, he received immunity from prosecution for the murder. This testimony is what allowed prosecutors to convict Denise Williams later on. Mike's mother, who never accepted the accident story, finally heard the truth she'd begged authorities to seek. The jury found Denise guilty of conspiracy and murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Mike Williams didn't get to grow old. His daughter grew up without him. His mother spent years fighting to prove he hadn't simply disappeared. But the community learned something harsh. Sometimes the danger isn't the swamp. Sometimes it's the people smiling beside you in church pews. Love can be real. Friendship can be deep. And still, betrayal can grow quietly right in the center of both.